Welcome to Menopause Moguls Podcast, the Elevation Talk series, with yours truly, Dr. Joyelle. I am Dr. Joyelle, the Menopause Mogul, board-certified OBGYN and business coach for Black women 40 and over, and my mission is to educate, embolden, and empower Black women and other women of color in their journey through health and careers. This is a space for Black women and other women of color to share their compelling trials and tribulations in their health and or in their careers and businesses. This is where we recognize the humanity of Black women and show how Black women continue to elevate despite midlife challenges and changes. So tune in to meet our next amazing guest. Welcome back to Menopause Moguls Elevation Talks. I am super excited for this episode, y'all. This is like, y'all about to meet this amazing Black girl magic. Her name is Dr. Nicole Rochester. I am going to read her bio before I bring her on the stage. We're going to have an amazing, she has lots of gems, lots of nuggets to share with y'all. And I just can't wait for y'all to meet her. So let's get started. So Dr. Nicole Rochester is a board certified pediatrician, TEDx and keynote speaker, and the CEO of Your GPS Doc LLC. An innovative company whose mission is to eliminate health disparities by empowering, educating, and advocating for patients and family caregivers struggling to navigate the healthcare system, and by providing health equity consulting services to healthcare organizations. She was inspired to start her company after caring for her late father and witnessing the complicated healthcare system from the other side of the stethoscope. She has been featured on television, radio, a frequent podcast guest, and has an active presence on social media. Y'all go watch her IG reels. They're funny. And has contributed more to 30 digital publications. She speaks locally and nationally about health equity, navigating the healthcare system, and elevating the patient and family caregiver voice. A Maryland native. All right, she's from PG County, y'all, so she's very special, okay? Very special. Dr. Rochester obtained her undergraduate degree from Johns Hopkins University, her medical degree from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and she's a clinical assistant professor of pediatrics at the George Washington University School of Medicine. She is a member of the Alliance of Professional Health Advocates, the National Association of Healthcare Advocacy, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the National Medical Association, and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is the proud mother of two beautiful young adult daughters. Welcome to the stage, Dr. Nicole.
Thank you, Dr. Joyelle. I am so excited. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm excited too. Y'all, like I said, Dr. Nicole, I told y'all she's special, right? Like first of all, she's from Maryland, PG County. Like That's my hometown. Hey. But she is special on very many levels, just inspiring for my life, right? So I wanted to share her magic with all of you. So we're just going to hop right into it. Dr. Nicole, do you just share with us just some of your story and, how you got into caregiving, advocating for caregivers and health equity, all that fun stuff. Like, how did this all start for you?
Yeah, this all started. Well, first, before I tell my story, I have to say, I'm a huge fangirl. Dr. Joyelle, I listen to your podcast every single week. And I just want to thank you for having me and for all of the work that you are doing in this space.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So my story, I am a pediatrician by training. And Dr. Joyelle, I don't know when you realized that you wanted to be a doctor, but I was that 7, 8, 9-year-old little girl going around telling everybody that I was going to be a doctor when I grew up. And not just a doctor, but I knew really from an early age that I wanted to be a pediatrician. Okay. So that was my lifelong dream. I was a good student, of course. And pretty much everything that I did was working towards this goal of becoming a physician, which I thought was my purpose, my God-given purpose in life, which it is.
Right.
And I say that because I never, ever, ever wanted to be an entrepreneur. Never wanted to own my own business. Didn't even want to be in private practice. Like I always was an employed doctor. For most of my career, I was working in a hospital as a hospitalist. Loved it. was living my best life, had a job that I loved, teaching medical students, teaching pediatric residents, medical director. So I had some administrative duties and clinical care. Like it was like the best of everything. And of course, life happened. So my dad was already kind of sick with a lot of chronic illnesses. But in 2010, his marriage to my stepmother ended rather abruptly and his health declined. And so my two older sisters and I had to kind of quickly jump in and start caring for him. And I thought I knew the healthcare system. Like, I had been I was a physician for over 10 years at that point. So I thought I knew a little something.
Right.
But what I realized when I started caring for my dad was that the system itself is extremely difficult to navigate. And especially for him as an older Black male. And that was my first time really being shoved outside of the pediatric world, because other than like annual checkups and GYN visits, I was healthy, my family was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, what I saw very early on is that my ability to advocate for my dad was really amplified by me being a doctor. And part of it was me having knowledge and of the medical system and of his healthcare and like being able to ask those probing questions of his doctors and pushing back politely. But also, honestly, like once initially they were just relegating me to the sidelines. They didn't want to hear from me. I would try to speak up. I would try to advocate. But then when I told them one day out of anger and frustration that I was a doctor, all of a sudden it was like, oh, now I'm important. Like now you want to hear from me. And I literally saw his care improve as a result of my influence. Like people knowing, oh, that's his daughter's a doctor. Like, his daughter's a doctor. Like, like be on your best behavior.
Right.
So I thought that was like, that pissed me off, frankly. I mean, it was good for him. But I was like, what about all the other people out here who are caring for aging parents or other sick family members? What about all the patients who don't happen to have a daughter who's a doctor or a nurse?
Right.
And so that was about a 3-year journey until unfortunately he passed away. And while we were going through that journey, I was getting these little messages that I was supposed to be doing something in this space. But you know how it is, Joy. I've heard you tell your story.
Yes.
So I was like, thanks God, but like, I'm good.
Yeah, we're not doing that right now, right?
Yeah. What we're not going to do is start a business, leave this 6-figure salary on the table.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And launch it. Like me, uncertainty, like me, the control freak, the perfectionist, like in medicine, as you know, every single thing is planned ahead. Like,
yes.
I don't care how long it takes you to get through the steps. You already know what the steps are.
Exactly.
You are evaluated on those steps. So okay, you passed this. Okay, great. Oh, you didn't pass, do that. It's very prescribed.
Right.
I like that. I like order.
Yes.
So the idea of like starting my own business, I was like, So it took me some years after my dad passed, but eventually that voice just got louder and louder, and people started popping in my DMs or texting me, like friends saying like, hey, I know you took care of your dad. Like, I'm going through this right now with my mom. How do I do this? How do I do that? And then back up a little bit. Like most other doctors, and especially Black doctors, we are the doctor for our family, our church, our neighborhood.
Yes.
So I was already I was a health advocate before I knew that I was a health advocate, and helping people communicate better with their doctors, explaining things. So that's a long way of saying that eventually I honestly just had to like give in, like, okay, like, all right, I'm going to do this thing. And there was a desire in my heart to do it, but I was just afraid. I was very afraid of really just giving up what I thought was like a sure thing, which we know this medicine is not a sure thing. So anyway, that's how I came to leaving medicine and starting Your GPS Doc.
Yeah, let's talk about that fear, right? Like I know for me, it was, like you said, I had the same kind of, whisper, or like God was like, okay, I want you to do something outside of your practice. I'm like, why? What are we doing that for? Like, well, I'm okay. I'm good here. Like, we're busy. I got 3 kids over there. Like, where the business is going to come in? Like, where that's going to come? And a lot of that was fear of, like, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know anything about a business. I'm a doctor, but I don't know anything about business, running a business. Like what? Like what? And like you said before, like, in medicine or in medical school residency, you have something well planned out. Okay, you do this, then you do this.
Yes.
In business, it ain't none of that.
You
talk
was
about
trying
that.
stuff, like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, let me.
Right. So how did you kind of push through that fear of the uncertainty?
I feel like it's been a journey, and honestly, like it has been. I heard somebody say the other day, and I can't remember where I heard it. Something about entrepreneurship is the best, like personal development journey ever. Like, and I was like, yes, like I have
Exactly.
learned so much about myself,
Yes.
the things that I needed to change, the things that I needed to fix or shift, my mindset. Like it's like the things that make us good doctors are the very things that I believe make us bad business owners and entrepreneurs, because that whole risk taking, like we're risk averse.
Yes.
So for me, it's been a journey, and I cannot discount the role that like my family has had in it, and also like the Lord. Like I have had to get on my knees a lot and just pray and read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and really like putting that mirror up and trying to identify what is it in me that's blocking my progress, because ultimately I have been my biggest roadblock. Like I could go down a long list of, well, this was hard, and this was hard. You got to set up your LLC, and we had to buy our own insurance. I mean, as a doc, like I'm the doctor in our family, the only doctor, and so I always had the great health insurance. So my family has always, my husband, my kids have always been on my plan. So
right.
Even that, like we had to get our own health insurance. I mean, it was just a lot. All of those things were hard, but despite all of those things, like I was the biggest barrier, and I finally had to get out of my own way.
Yes.
And just get used to showing up imperfectly, trying something without a guarantee that it was going to work, that it was going to be successful, and even unpacking my like lifelong, what I didn't realize, like my connection to accomplishments and achievements and stars, getting that star on your paper, or Nicole, all those things. Like I didn't realize how attached I was to outside praise and validation. Girl, that could be a whole nother.
That's a whole nother. Oh my gosh! Like what? That is a whole nother conversation. Because, and it's funny, my coach, Dr. Kimmy, right?
Yes, love her.
I'm gonna have her on the podcast too, y'all. So, but yeah, she asked me that question one day, like, how would you feel if you didn't get another client, another degree, another anything? Like, would you still feel worthy?
Girl,
I was like, I was a mess after that. Okay, I was a total mess. All right, because like you said, I was so attached to all these things, and like you said, getting the star and getting the praise. Like, oh girl, you good, you did that, and it's like none of that stuff really matters.
Yes.
Right? As long as you're doing things that aligns with your heart and aligns with what the assignment that he gave you. It's just you just got to go with that.
And when you align yourself, and this is like the season I'm in now, like when you finally let all of that go and align yourself with what he's told you to do, then he's going to provide everything else.
Yes.
So
that's so true. And a lot of my clients, and it's funny, like you said, a lot of times we get in our own way. And that's the thing, like we get in, that's the biggest, hurdle, is getting over ourselves and our minds in order to do this big thing, like build a business and follow our dreams and all the things. And I think it's important that we actually see that we're getting our own, because a lot of us, we don't see it, right? We don't see it. Like, it's like you said, we blame all the other things. Oh, I couldn't get this because of that, or I couldn't do this because of this. It's like, nah, sis, like you just get in your own way because your mind is telling you, like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's very, very important for, as women, as Black women entrepreneurs, that a lot of times we have to realize that we are getting in our own way. And, when we realize that, figuring out what we need to do, like I said, especially for our minds, because I feel like entrepreneurship, is, the success is 95% based on your mindset. Like, I mean,
yes. And we also have to forgive ourselves because
oh my gosh, yes.
also, in that season too, like we have to understand that we are who we are who we are because of our circumstances, the way we were raised, our training, like all of the things, all of our experiences. And so like, we can't beat ourselves up over those things. But then like you said, once we realize it, then we have to like do the work to get better.
Right. Yeah, that part in regards to the judgment of ourselves, like, girl, you didn't do this. You didn't do this by now. Like, oh, you did this because this happened to you, and now you're this.
Yeah,
like that's huge. I know for me, like you said, we are our biggest critic, right? Like, and I was like, I can't start. Like, what? Like, it has to be perfect. It has to be this. It has to be that. I have to look like I have it all together all the time. And I had to get to a point like, y'all gonna get what y'all gonna get. Like seriously, y'all just gonna get it, because I mean, I feel like you said, just if it aligns with what God wants me to do, and and He'll just perfect whatever needs perfect out, when it gets out there, So it's like, yeah, y'all just gonna get what y'all gonna get.
And then those are the things that end up truly blessing people. It's that video that you recorded but without putting on the makeup, or when you just woke up and had something on your heart. And then it's like the one that you spent all this time preparing.
Yes.
Make sure your lighting was perfect. That thing got like 9 views. And the one where you barely could get out of bed, and you look at a hot mess. Thousands of views.
Right, exactly. But yeah, it took me a long time to get here, and it's still a muscle that I continue to work on, right?
Yeah,
like I told you before we hopped on the recording, I told you about the IG reel I created, y'all. Like, I had this lovely reel with some lovely words in it, right? Like a lot of messages, and I posted it, and all the words were gone. I'm just like, what in the world? Now, the old me would have deleted it, went back and did it all over again. I'm like, you know what? They gonna get it the way it is. That's just how it's gonna be.
I love it.
So yeah. So let's kind of go back to, you talked about your experience with your dad and, being his caregiver, and how people changed when they found out you were a physician. And I watched your TEDx talk, and it talked about overcoming invisibility. And it resonated with me when you said, I had to fight for my dad to be seen. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Look, I already have my tissue ready to go.
Look, I got mine too. So
I already know how you roll. So I was like, let me reach back here and get a tissue.
Look, so y'all say, so Dr. Nicole, Dr. Joyelle be crying sometime on this podcast. So let me bring my tissue too before she make me cry. Cause
oh my God. All right, I'm gonna really try to hold it together.
Okay, it's okay.
This idea of invisibility, it plays out now, like in the work that I do with health.
Yeah.
The reality is that, and first of all, let me be clear, because sometimes people who aren't people of color be like, well, I have a hard time at the doctor's office too. Let me be clear. The healthcare system is broken for everybody.
Right.
So when I speak, I'm not just, I'm never going to pretend like only Black people or only brown people or only gay people or only people have issues. But my point is, when you have those identities, it's even worse. Like, it just makes everything even worse.
Yeah.
And so what I saw with my dad, and honestly, in the moment, like at the time, I didn't even really realize it, because I'm somewhat of, or I used to be back then, an optimist. So the first thing in my mind was not, oh, they're treating him this way because he's Black or because he's older. I was just like, this healthcare system is jacked up.
Right.
But what I saw is that, he, and I honestly have to think about, have I done this? But like in medicine, patients become these nebulous identities. Like How many times do people say, oh, room 5 is ready for you now, Dr. Ballard, or Dr. Rochester, go in room 2 first because he looks a little bit sicker. And it's like, who? And I remember when I was a hospitalist and the nurses would be like, room 8150 needs to see you. And I'm like, who is that? Like, I would always tell them I need a name.
Yeah.
Like, I don't work in room numbers. So, but that's what happens in medicine is basically there's a lot of dehumanization that takes place. And I think some of it happens out of a perceived necessity to like disconnect, to protect our own, how they would tell you in residency and, don't get too close to the patients and all these things.
Right.
But there's this dehumanization that takes place that is amplified millions of % when you talk about Black people, brown people, other marginalized identities. So with my dad, basically, I just felt like he was the diabetic. He was the guy with heart disease. But like nobody really took the time to like see him and understand that this is a whole human being. Like this guy has gone through a lot. He was on dialysis 3 days a week. Like his health, this man was a former police officer who, was a daddy's girl. So like he was like this mythical creature, like this mythical creature. And now he was just like a broken man, And I feel like he had so many needs beyond just his refilling his prescription that day that were just being ignored. And then on top of that, his basic healthcare needs were being ignored as well. And so I was like the person, like almost like jump, like, hey, like, look at my dad, look at me. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, hey, we're here, we're human, we have needs. Like, what about this? What about that? And so I mean, it just sometimes it was adversarial. Mostly I tried to be collaborative, but it just really opened up my eyes to how we don't humanize our patients. And that led to this concept that I created and introduced in that talk, that TEDx talk about the 90-second encounter. Because as I was developing the talk, I'm like, okay, this is the problem. There is an invisibility problem in medicine. There is an empathy problem in medicine. Okay, now what's the solution? And I'm like, what if we just spent, because time is an issue. We know there are challenges. Right. Like, what if every doctor, every healthcare professional just spent 90 seconds of the visit at the beginning, just connecting? That's it. Just talk to me just for a minute about my life or my last vacation or my kids or whatever. Like, what brings me joy? What am I scared about? What's the best book I read? Before you launch into, I see you're here for this, or what brings you in today? And then, you want to talk about my headache and my blood pressure and all these other things. So that was for me, like just an idea of, could this be a solution where if we actually talk to our patients and connect with them, will that help us to humanize them in a way that everything else will flow? Instead of me having my biases and instead of me feeling like I need to disconnect, I'm now connected to this person. So I'm thinking, okay, how would I treat this person if they were my mom, my dad, my spouse, my sister, my brother? So, yeah.
And thank God that you were there to, see that and then what you birthed outside of that experience has been amazing, right? In regards to you helping other people be awesome caregivers. Can you give like a couple of nuggets in regards to, because I know a lot of women who are listening are caregivers themselves of, aging parents. I have aging parents. My husband has aging parents. They having issues. They calling you like, I don't know what this medication is, all this stuff, right? Can you give a little bit of, kind of tips in regards to navigating that experience as a caregiver, as, the child, child with the parent, and how you were able to do that as well as take care of your own family?
Ooh, child. Yes. They call that the sandwich generation.
Yes.
You're caring for your aging parents. You're caring for your own kids.
Exactly.
That is not for the faint of heart. And certainly at our age, that is the situation for many who are still blessed to have their parents. In terms of the tips, I as the GPS doc, I have a framework called the GPS framework that I like to share with people, whether they're navigating healthcare for themselves or for their family members. And so the G is to gather information. And that just really speaks to the importance of asking questions. We don't ask enough questions when we are in healthcare environments because we are worried that we're going to take up too much time, too much space, or we're worried that we might look, quote unquote, dumb, or, maybe it's things that we feel like we should already know. But we need to ask questions because a lot of times those questions will prompt the doctor or the other healthcare provider to think about something that they haven't thought about, or it'll force them to just kind of slow down and explain things in a way that you can understand better. It may make them shift from using those medical terms to lay terms when they realize, oh, you know what? You're asking this question. That means I didn't explain it properly. Like, let me try this again.
Right.
And it just gives you the information that you need in order to really show up as a partner on that healthcare team. So that's the G, gather information. And then the P is to position yourself as an expert. That really speaks to this idea that, like, yes, I'm a doctor. Yes, I did all the things, medical school, residency, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know Joyelle's body and what Joyelle is feeling right now. And Joyelle knows her body. Joyelle knows, your dad, your mom. Like, my sisters and I knew when our dad wasn't right. And sometimes we knew before the vital signs were going to plummet or go, before they were going to go crazy, before his labs were going to show some significant abnormality, like, because we were around him our whole lives. So we knew things, but sometimes caregivers are reluctant to trust their gut because they say, well, maybe they'll say a concern and then they'll get shot down or gaslit. And they'll be like, well, she is the nurse or she is the doctor or he, you need to position yourself as the expert. You are the expert for your own body, for your kids, for your family members. And then the S is to speak up. And that's that whole advocacy piece. Like, if you think something's wrong, you're probably right. And there's no harm in speaking up in a polite way. If you are worried about something and the doctor ends up, oh yeah, that's not the case, that's fine. Like, there's no harm, no foul. But more often than not, the family member is the one that's bringing some critically important things to the medical team's attention. And I can't even count how many times, I feel like my sisters and I saved my dad's life, even before he passed away. Just picking up things that, like, wait a minute, that's not the medicine. Wait, he's allergic to that. Wait, the doctor stopped that 2 days ago. The things.
Right.
And then the sandwich generation, the only thing I'll say about that is that what I didn't learn this, unfortunately, while I was still a caregiver. I learned a lot after my dad passed away.
Right.
But like this whole superwoman complex, like, I was trying to do way too many things, even though my sisters and I was 3 of us helping. It took us a while to, like, get our groove because we were all, like, there was a lot of redundancy in what we were doing. And finally we got in our lanes. Okay, Nicole, you're the doctor. You do the medical piece. Okay. Right. Adrian, this is your expertise. You do this. You handle his house. Okay. Then you handle the finances.
Yeah.
And then once we started to, like, divide and conquer, things got so much easier. And then I had to have conversations with my family, with my kids. I mean, to make sure they understood what I was involved in. When I could, I would try to, involve them. And then just understanding that, like, there are going to be some times when I'm going to have to be with my dad, and I may have to sacrifice time with my kids. And then it's going to be times when, all right, daddy, like, I can't go with you to this appointment because De'Ara has, or, somebody has a concert or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, this idea of trying to be everything to everybody, it does not work.
Yeah.
And for me, just I think, and for anybody that's, like, currently in that sandwich generation, just giving yourself some grace and asking for help.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I had asked for help so much sooner.
I love that. I love giving yourself grace and asking for help. Those have been the biggest things that I have learned in these last couple of years for myself. Like, and that's been the hardest thing for me. Giving myself grace. Like, what? Yeah. Like we said before, like, being so hard on ourselves, being everything to everybody all the time. Like, that has been my life. Like, I have been, you watch my episode with my sisters. I've been the oldest. I've been the only doctor in the family. I am everything to everybody, right? Like, and now I'm supposed to, like, step away from I have to say no to certain things. Like, what? Like, I'm allowed to do that? Like,
Yeah.
So I love, like, it's like, give yourself grace is so, so, so important, as well as asking for help. Because again, when you're so used to doing all the things, all, putting it all on you, it's hard to, and then you want things done a certain way. You gotta let go of all that stuff. Like
Mm,
you let people, just let them do it. Let's let them do it. It'll
yeah,
get done some way, shape or form. It'll get done. And I think the other important thing you said is having communication with your family, right? Like
yeah.
having those conversations. Because I think a lot of us, we take on these things. We're taking care of our parents, we're taking care of other things, and we don't communicate that with our spouses, with our children. So they'll know, like, how you, like, what you doing, how you feel, like, yo, this is hard, y'all. Like, can y'all help me? Like,
Yes. Yes.
so I love that you had those conversations with your family, with your husband, your kids, and your, like I said, battle conquer with your sisters. Like having those conversations is so, so, so important.
Yeah.
And realizing how this is, what you're doing as a caregiver or whatever you're doing, it not only affects you, it affects everybody around you.
Hmm.
Everybody around you.
And can I add one more thing about communication?
Yeah.
If you're employed, your coworkers. So I was hiding without really realizing I was hiding, but I didn't even
Mm,
tell. Like I was the medical director, so I had 6 or 7 doctors that worked with me. And I was back to your point. We feel like we have to always be on our A game.
yes.
So I was busy doing all these things at work, helping to take care of my dad, managing my family. And I did not even share that with my coworkers, and I was drowning. And we had this meeting, the staff meeting, like our monthly physician meeting. And what I was planning to do was to share with them that I was thinking about cutting my time down just a little bit because I was, caring for my dad. But I ended up, girl, just breaking down. I mean, as soon as
Mm-hmm.
I started saying, you guys, I want to let you know, just tears, just bawling.
Right. Yeah.
And I will never forget one of my coworkers just being so tender and loving. And afterwards, because she had also been a caregiver, sharing the tips that led to my sisters and I, like dividing our tasks.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
point I'm making is, like, I was trying to hide under this persona that I had it all together.
Right.
And meanwhile, these were friends. Like, they were coworkers, but they were friends. And of course, once they knew, like, all they wanted to know is, how can we help? What
Exactly.
can we take off of your
Exactly.
plate? And here I am running around trying to act like I'm Miss Boss Lady in
Yeah.
control. So, we have to be vulnerable.
Right. Yes. Be vulnerable. That's the thing. That is the thing. And with that, let's switch a little bit. Being vulnerable as you are building a business after 40.
Whew.
Let's
Mm.
talk a little bit about that. Because I know, like, as I started, with my perimenopausal change, like these mental and physical changes, like all these things are happening inside my body. And I'm just like, how in the world am I going to build a business amongst these things that are happening, that it's like, can I really do that? Or what, or how can I navigate through that? So, which is why, once I figured it out, which is why I share that now with my clients. When you're building a business after 40, there's so many things that are happening, not only outside of you, but also within you.
Hmm.
And being able to be vulnerable to, number one, actually acknowledge those things. Like you said, we try to be like, oh, I'm good. I'm fine.
Right?
When you're like I was a hot mess inside. Like people, like, they would see me come in my cute clothes and heels and like in the office, like, yeah, Dr. Val, she good. I'm like, no, I am not good, for real, y'all. I am struggling. I'm struggling. But was able to, basically just kind of reset and be still with myself and figure out what I needed, and acknowledge that I do need help, and I do need to be more vulnerable, and let my family know, my kids, my husband, like, okay, I need y'all to help me. Like, I need y'all to help me, especially as I'm now trying to build a business. Like
Hmm.
that could be a lot. That could be a lot. So talk to me a little bit about, you being a woman over 40, and, now you're, you have this awesome business that you have, your GPS doc. How has it been? What kind of challenges that you've had, and then, how are you able to kind of overcome those challenges? Or what do you continue to work on, as you're, scaling and, your
Hmm.
business?
Well, I'm going to say publicly that I'm actually now a woman over 50.
Woo
Woo. I was over 40 when I started this journey, but now I'm over 50. So I'm
All
in
right
a whole
now.
nother-
She's in a whole other level now. Okay.
Yeah, like that is, I think, one of the biggest challenges for me and probably for your clients and other women who are doing this at an older age is that it involves you shedding some of your former identities. And by the time you're 40, and certainly by the time you're 50, you pretty much are already who you are. You know what I mean? And you're like kind of stuck in your ways, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
And I think that's one of the challenges of doing something like this at this phase is being willing to like start over. Like, who wants to start all the way over at 40, 50?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's like other people are already, especially like if we go back to us as doctors, at that, by the time you're 40, you've been out of training, most of us, probably a good 10 years or so plus. So you got your footing, you already have your ideas of maybe where you're going to move up the ladder or not. Mm-hmm. And so this is like starting all over. And that is very, very scary.
Yeah.
And then, you're also thinking about, like how many years do I have ahead of me? Like, also, like financially, it's a challenge. For me, I will just speak for me. So when I left my job, I did work part-time remotely while I was building my business for about 5 years. But for those first 3 plus, maybe 3 years, at least, maybe more, I did not contribute to my retirement at all. So I'm sitting here like, Nicole, you're getting older. Like our youngest, when I started my business, my youngest was about to be a senior in high school. I mean, so like, we've got 4 years of college. I'm like, yes, it's the first time to start. So that's another thing. Like, depending on when you had your kids,
right,
it may seem like it's just not the right time. I need to do this first. I need to do that first. So yeah, going back to the retirement, like that's an age where, if anything, you should be like stepping up your retirement contributions. And here I am cutting them off completely,
right,
for years. And so those are challenges. And in terms of getting beyond them, I think for me, I had to always I know this sounds very touche or like cliche, but like keep my eye on the prize. Mm-hmm. Like whenever I would be tempted, because there were times when I was like, you know what, I'm just going back to work.
Let's go back. Let me go back.
and still, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, well, if this doesn't work out,
right,
I'm still a doctor.
Yes, exactly.
I'm still board certified for now. Right. I keep maintaining that for now.
Yep.
I have my licenses and things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I mean, I think you just have to, the idea that this is bigger than me. And I think that's for me when it really set in. Like, Nicole, this is not about you. This never was about you.
Yes.
The idea, like, why did God allow me for my dad to get sick and for my sisters and I to care for him? And like, like all of that was leading to where I am now.
Yes.
And even like the health equity work, which spurred out of, George Floyd's murder and all the stuff that came from that. And America finally realizing like, oh, we still have racism. Okay. Oh, and it's in the healthcare system. Like all these things, it's like I'm realizing I was literally built for this. Like I was made for this. So everything else is just, all the other barriers and challenges are just, they're just things I have to get through.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That first part in regards to like truly letting go of who you used to be, like being able to move forward. Because I think a lot of women, including myself, like you try to hold on to, but this is what I used to be, and this is how I used to do things.
Yeah.
And now moving forward into this thing, like you said, is truly bigger than you. So being able to accept that and then continue to take those steps forward. And of course, like I said, keeping your eye, like I said, on the prize, keep being committed to your vision and really committed to you and your assignments, right?
Yes.
Because if you're being called to do it, like who are we to be like, I ain't doing that, God. Look, I'm not doing that. God be like, what? This is what I said. So being able to continue to move forward despite the challenges and like I said, just slowly letting go of what you used to be and just embracing who you are becoming and who you, like I said, who's already deep down inside of you. You just have to let her out. Let her out.
That's right. That's right.
So I love that. I can talk to you all day, but we
Same.
are, we are getting. I'll probably have you come back. We'll talk about some other stuff, but we're getting close to the end here, girl. So I wanted to first give you a chance to share anything that you are promoting right now, as far as your business, your company. Any Dr. Nicole, y'all, is in these speaker streets. All right, she's always speaking somewhere. Okay, so you have some speaking engagement that you got going on IG, on Facebook, on wherever. Let the people know. Everyone, her information will be in the show notes for you guys to please follow her, because she's doing some amazing work in these health equity streets, caregiving streets. Like, she's doing some amazing things. So please follow her. But yeah, share with us if there's anything that's news that you're coming out.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. I would say, yes, speaking is one of my favorite things. So if you are listening and you're part of an organization and you're looking for a speaker, either to talk about caregiving, navigating the healthcare system, or health inequities, health disparities, I am your woman. You can go to my website, yourgpsdoc.com. And you can, there's an inquiry page there where you can inquire and contact me about speaking. In terms of upcoming things, so I am also in the middle of a launch, or starting a launch, for my coaching program. So I have a coaching program for physicians who want to become health advocates. And as we already talked about, if you're a physician, you're already a health advocate. We're already doing this for free, which is fine, for our friends and family members, but there is a way to do this on a larger scale. I've talked to so many doctors that are like, this is the kind of work that I want to do with my patients, but there's no time, I really want to sit and explain, and I want to help them navigate the system. So if that's you, if you are interested in learning more about becoming a health advocate, starting your own health advocacy practice, either on the side while you still practice medicine, because that is possible, or if you want to be crazy like me and Dr. Joyelle and leave your job altogether.
Come on with us. Come on with us.
So the program is called Navigating Health Advocacy Ready, Set, Launch. And they can either message me on Instagram, or you can go to bit.ly/NHA apply 1. I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit long.
That's okay. We'll put it all in the show notes.
And they can apply to be considered for the cohort. Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, follow me on social media, y'all. I love engaging. I used to hate Instagram, but now I love Instagram.
Yeah, she all on Instagram, y'all. Like, her reels be cracking me up.
Yours too.
So yes, please follow her. And like I said, I'll have all her information in the show notes. So we're going to end with our rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Dr. Nicole?
I am ready.
All righty. So first, number 1, what brings you joy?
Whew. In this season of my life, what brings me joy is my 2 daughters. I have 2 young adults, which I still can't believe I have 2 young adults. They are 23 and 28. And just watching them become who they are, and watching them grow into themselves, and even like watching them make mistakes, in quotes, for those who are just listening, I'm putting mistakes in quotes, because I am now, learning about that whole perfectionism. And so like watching them just, make wrong turns and then self-correct. And then also like the relationship that we have that allows them to tell me some things that I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I wanted to know that. But like they tell me a lot of things, and then they come to me for advice. So we're just in a really like beautiful season of like redefining our relationship in as adults. And so they bring me tremendous joy.
Awesome. Okay, what is one piece of advice that you would tell the woman who has a similar story to yours, who aspires to become an entrepreneur?
Get out of your own way. Period.
Period, y'all. Okay?
Period.
Get out of your own way. Awesome. Love it. All right, complete this sentence. I am blank years old, and my superpower is...
I am 53 years old, and my superpower is advocacy.
Awesome. I love it. Dr. Dr. Nicole, I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And like I said, we gonna have to we have so much that we touched on that we can have like several episodes about.
Well,
but I appreciate you.
Me, Dr.
Yes, of course. Like I said, I love you. I appreciate you and all the work that you're doing in these streets. Like I love, and just keep going. I'm inspired. I'm motivated watching you. So just keep going. And I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Wasn't she amazing? Like I told y'all, special and amazing. And as a woman of color, as a Black woman, I want all of you who are watching, who are listening, to remember that you are enough to do anything you're being called to do. And like the Dr. Nicole said, like all you have to do is truly just get out of your own way. All right, y'all. As always, sending love and light to you all. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Elevation Talks of the Menopause Moguls podcast. See you soon.